At some point in human history, a wolf walked toward a human, and the human didn't run, and the wolf didn't attack, and something happened that had never happened before in the history of life on this planet. Two completely different apex predators decided, for reasons neither of them fully understood, to stay near each other. That moment changed everything. Not just for humans, not just for wolves, but for every civilization, every farm, every city, every kingdom, and every society that came after. Because the animal that walked out of that forest wasn't a wolf anymore. And the human who didn't run away wasn't quite the same either. Here's what makes this story genuinely strange. Dogs are the only animal in history that essentially domesticated itself. Think about every other domestic animal: cows, horses, pigs, chickens. Humans captured them, controlled them, bred them over generations. But dogs were different. Dogs came to us. Somewhere between 15,000 and 40,000 years ago, wolves started hanging around human camps. Not because humans invited them. Not because humans trapped them. Because wolves noticed something. Humans always had leftovers. Bones. Scraps. Food. A human camp was basically a reliable source of calories. The most aggressive wolves got chased away or killed. The most fearful wolves stayed far from people. But the wolves in the middle survived. Curious enough to approach, calm enough not to attack. Those wolves kept coming back, and eventually humans stopped chasing them away. Which raises a question nobody asks often enough. Why? Ancient humans weren't sentimental. These were people making life or death decisions every day. Every calorie mattered. Every resource mattered. They didn't keep animals around because they were cute. So why tolerate a dangerous predator sitting near camp? Because wolves provided something humans couldn't: their senses. A wolf can smell things humans can't even imagine smelling. It can hear sounds humans don't notice. It can detect movement in darkness long before a human sees anything. In other words, wolves became the world's first security system. While humans slept, wolves stayed alert. If a predator approached, the wolves reacted. If strangers appeared, the wolves noticed. If danger moved through the darkness, the wolves often detected it first. Humans got protection. Wolves got food. Nobody planned it. Nobody signed an agreement. Two species simply discovered that they were more useful together than apart. And that accidental partnership changed both of them forever. Over time, the wolves living near humans began changing. Not just behaviorally, physically. This is one of the strangest things in evolutionary biology. When animals become less aggressive and more tolerant of humans, other traits start changing too. Their faces become softer. Their teeth become smaller. Their ears become floppier. Their tails curl. Their appearance becomes less intimidating. Scientists call this domestication syndrome. What's strange is that humans never intentionally selected many of these features. They simply appeared alongside tameness, and those changes had an unexpected effect. They made dogs look younger. Big eyes, rounder faces, softer features. Humans are naturally wired to respond positively to those traits. The same instincts that make us care for babies were triggered by early dogs. Without meaning to, dogs accidentally activated some of the strongest caregiving instincts in the human brain. Thousands of years later, people still let dogs sleep in their homes, sometimes even in their beds. Evolution works slowly, but when it works very well. The relationship between humans and dogs wasn't built on emotion alone. It was incredibly practical, especially when it came to hunting. Humans like to think of themselves as great hunters, but compared to most predators, we're honestly pretty unimpressive. We're not fast. We don't have claws. We don't have fangs. Our sense of smell is terrible. Our hearing is average. What humans do have is endurance and intelligence. Before dogs, hunting often required chasing animals over long distances until they became exhausted. It worked, but it took time and energy. Dogs changed everything. A dog could follow scent trails humans couldn't detect. track wounded animals for miles, locate prey hidden in dense vegetation, corner animals, flush birds from cover, guide hunters directly toward food. Suddenly, hunting became far more efficient. More successful hunts meant more food. More food meant healthier tribes. Healthier tribes survived more often, but dogs didn't stop there. They guarded camps, protected livestock, helped herd animals, pulled sleds across frozen landscapes. In some regions, entire communities depended on dogs for transportation. Dogs weren't just companions. They were infrastructure. Civilizations literally moved because dogs helped move them. And then something even stranger happened. Humans didn't just use dogs. They started loving them. Archaeologists have discovered dog burials dating back thousands of years. Not discarded remains. Actual burials. Carefully prepared. Respectfully arranged. Sometimes accompanied by gifts, objects, food, offerings. One burial site contains a human buried with a puppy resting beside them. The image is over 12,000 years old, and yet it feels completely familiar. Because somewhere along the way, the relationship became more than practical. Dogs evolved to understand humans. They can follow our gaze, read our body language, respond to our emotions, interpret gestures, understand pointing, detect moods. Even our closest primate relatives struggle with some of these tasks. Dogs became specialists in understanding humans, and humans changed too. When people make eye contact with dogs, both species experience increases in oxytocin, the same hormone involved in bonding between parents and children, the same chemistry involved in trust and affection. In a very real biological sense, humans and dogs evolved to care about each other. That's not a metaphor. It's biology. But this story isn't entirely warm and comforting. Ancient life rarely was. Archaeological evidence from around the world shows that some societies consumed dogs, sometimes during food shortages, sometimes as part of cultural traditions, sometimes simply because survival demanded it. To modern people, that feels contradictory. How can a society love dogs and eat them? But ancient humans weren't operating in a world of comfort. They lived much closer to starvation, much closer to death. The choices they made were often practical rather than emotional. Yet even in societies where dogs were sometimes eaten, dogs remained domesticated. They remained trusted. They remained important because the relationship went deeper than affection. It was built on mutual survival. And survival is rarely simple. Today, some researchers make a fascinating argument. Without dogs, human civilization might not look the way it does. Not because dogs performed miracles, but because they made everything slightly easier. Hunting became more efficient. Security improved. Transportation expanded. Resources increased. Humans spent less energy surviving and more energy creating, planning, trading, building, inventing. Over thousands of years, small advantages become enormous advantages, and dogs provided those advantages for generation after generation. They were multipliers. They made human societies better at almost everything they already did. One curious wolf walked toward one curious human. And consequences of that moment spread across thousands of years. So, why did ancient humans trust dogs more than any other animal? Because dogs earned that trust, one generation at a time. They guarded camps, warned of danger, helped find food, protected families, traveled alongside humans through every environment imaginable. They showed up, again and again, for thousands of years. And somewhere during that incredibly long partnership, something unique happened. A bond formed that neither species fully intended. A bond now written into both species biologically. The feeling people get when a dog looks at them isn't random. It isn't modern. It isn't cultural. It's ancient. It's the result of thousands of generations of humans and dogs choosing each other over and over again, long before cities, long before countries, long before history was written down. A wolf walked toward a human. The human stayed. The wolf stayed, and neither species has really left the other's side since